to be successful in life, 20% is usually IQ, and the rest is emotional intelligence and all this stuff.
EQ.
Yeah, EQ. There we go. Welcome to Mama's Playground. This is Monica.
And this is Darlene.
Darlene is laughing because I just had a blooper moment. We were starting this podcast and she was like, who's going to start? You or me? And I was like, I'll do it. And all of a sudden the UPS guy came to leave like a package and I got stuck. And like my squirrel brain went.
Squirrel brain, I know.
There's a, sorry, dude. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm like, I literally have to go like this.
Should we invite him to come over? It's like, how does it feel to be delivering packages in this heat?
UPS, man. Come sit with us.
Hello, how are you? How's your week?
Good. We haven't been here. Well, we've been. But I mean, yeah, it's been good.
Okay, we need Monica to come back. Monica.
Yes, I did. I went somewhere for a while.
Monica. Okay. So on that note, today we're going to be talking about this thing that keeps coming up, which is the term of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a new term. I'm sure it's not, but I just feel like it's been constantly like in front of me.
What is it trying to tell you? What are people trying to tell you?
So, and then the other day you mentioned something, then I went on Google and this article came up, which I want to talk about it. And I'm like, okay, like what's up with this emotional intelligence? And I honestly didn't know much about what it is.
Okay.
And doing the research that I love to do, I noticed like there's so much, to learn about that. And first of all, emotional intelligence is also called EQ, which is emotional quotient. I can say this word.
What is it?
Quotient. Quotient.
What is it?
Quotient. My
emotional. Where do you have it? Emotional. No, emotional intelligence. Where does it say quotient?
Quotient.
Where?
EQ.
Oh, Oh, don't tell. Whatever.
I can't say that word.
Quotient.
Quotient.
You got me stuck. Forget it. It's called Quotient. Quotient.
How do you say
emotional quotient?
Quotient.
Quotient.
Okay, our producer's
there we
saying
go.
quotient.
There you go.
I feel like I'm saying kosher.
You got me.
Emotional
you got me
mixed. Kosher. It's a Jewish emotion. But anyway, and the difference between EQ and IQ is that IQ is more like intellectual.
Correct.
And then being able to analyze, and numbers and all that stuff. And emotional quotient, EQ, obviously, as the word says, it has to do more with emotion and being able to control them. And how I hear Fabian like on the back of my
like, oh really?
It's like, oh really? Can I go and be part of that episode and talk about your crazy emotions?
No, but look, on a funny, this is not the first time I hear it. Okay, we're making fun of it, but it is actually something that research, because I've seen this before and I've seen this for many, many years. Obviously, it's a little bit more in your face because of social media and reels and all the stuff. Mm-hmm. They say 20% is IQ based. Like your success in life, they did like a research that says to be successful in life, 20% is usually IQ, and the rest is emotional intelligence and all this stuff.
EQ.
Yeah, EQ. There we go. EQ. So the other 80 is based off of EQ and obviously other factors.
Oh.
But when it comes down to it, it's funny. I don't know if you've ever listened to a speaker called Simon Sinek. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I love him. Yeah. I do. I love him. I've heard, heard his TED Talks, and I've read some of his books and all that. Yes, a couple of years.
And he has a podcast also.
He does. Yeah. He does. And I was listening to one of his TED Talks actually this week, and he was talking about how emotional intelligence comes down to empathy. Right? Mm-hmm. It does, because I'm going to give you a scenario that he gave, and it makes a lot of sense. It's like when you're driving down the highway or whatever here in Miami on 95, and all of a sudden somebody cuts you off. Okay. Emotional intelligence would be somebody that would actually think to themselves and say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get mad about this. That person's probably maybe like in a hurry to get to work. Maybe they're having a hard time. Like somebody that is making I don't want to say excuses, because somebody has to be, oh, that's just excuses. Like, I don't need to deal with that shit. There's people that go, but it's the person that doesn't escalate, doesn't let their emotions get the best of them.
Yeah.
And you reason, with what's happening or why a person is the way that they are, or, it's showing empathy for that person. Or maybe they are really just, an idiot.
Assholes.
Yeah,
Maybe
an
they
idiot.
are, but
you are able
that's
to
their problem.
rationalize, and emotional intelligence, to me, I don't think you're born with it. I think it's something that you learn throughout life with experiences and things that you've gone through, and we definitely are not born going, oh, I wonder poor Susie, she must have like a mom that's like this and that's why she's like that. No, we're not. It's life circumstances and all that help us to get better at that emotional intelligence.
No, it takes practice.
Yeah, it takes practice.
And patience.
Yeah.
Because sometimes our emotions get the best of us again. I mean, guilty as charged here. I tend to be very emotional, and at times that could be like issues in our relationship because it's don't speak out of your emotions, like control them and think with your head. And it's the whole like finding a balance between your emotions and your thoughts and what's the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, if we work through them, it's just going to benefit you and the people that you're surrounded.
And it's in every setting. It's every setting. I say to myself, like, for me, my story with like emotional intelligence, and obviously the term came later, is when I had talked about this before, where I had dealt with really severe anxiety. I'm not talking about anxiety of like, just like your normal, really bad anxiety where I basically stopped living. And I was I was 18 years old. I was 18, 19 years old. I stopped driving. I stopped doing things. So in that being said, obviously I went on a soul search of like, why is this happening to me? What's going on? And I had to do many, and I still do many years of self-development. And within that self-development has been being in tune with my emotional intelligence, because I realized that everybody has a story to tell. It's very easy for us to wake up in the morning and go to work. Let's just give a scenario, and somebody's being a bitch or somebody's being an asshole, and literally go and call them out on it.
Yeah.
The other, when your emotional intelligence kicks in, you say to yourself, I'm going to hold myself from doing
She's having
this.
a hard day.
She's having a hard day, or he's having a hard day. You know what? It's not his fault. Look at all these things that they have piled on his plate. Look at what they had to go through yesterday. Like, it's just building up. Like, give them the benefit of the doubt.
Putting yourself on their shoes.
Absolutely. And I know it's not that easy to do it. It's easier to react than to not react, but for me, myself, obviously I'm always still learning and I'm growing and I'm always open to, listening and all that. I think at work, I want to say I'm good like that. I think at work, I'm known to have that emotional intelligence. Actually, people come and talk to me and I'm like, no, don't think of it like that. It's like this. Not that I'm better or anything. It's just, I had to start working on that so early because of the shit that I went through, because I wasn't always so intellectually and emotionally intelligent. No. I want to say in my relationship, I lack. And there you see, in my relationship, my personal relationships, I'm a little bit more inclined to explode versus holding myself back. You know what I mean? But it's something that we have to be aware of.
Exactly.
It's self-awareness.
Yeah, we're not going to be like perfect and be like super emotionally intelligent. I mean, we're going to have those moments that we're going to like,
you lose it. Yeah, you're human.
You lose it. It's part of it. But it's, for example, the road rage at the end of, if you just say like, you know what, let them go. But if you get mad and then you want to follow them and do the same thing and cut them the same way, then it becomes also your problem. Yeah. Whatever that person has going on, now it's part of your problem, because now you're agitated. Like for me, my heart starts beating fast, then I'm pissed and I'm shaking, and then they ruin my day.
And for what?
For what? I don't even know the person.
It's true. It's true. It's having, they say one of the main things with emotional intelligence is self-awareness.
Oh, yeah. So these are the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, your EQ. Your EQ. But yeah, emotional intelligence comes down really to self-awareness, because you can't really control people. But you can control yourself. Yeah. So when you're escalating. And I remember doing like a self-help kind of like seminar kind of thing. And this guy said, take 90 seconds to yourself. Like before you open your mouth or before you're quick to judge or this and that, analyze, take 90 seconds, and then see if you're going to react that same way.
Think before reacting.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of emotional intelligence. And like I said, this comes with age. This doesn't come from the beginning, because I know when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, I definitely was the first person that if you told me something, I was going to tell you something right back. Yeah. I was not going to hold myself.
And it's also a little bit in our blood. Like we're Cuban and I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
and it's like for us, it's like, what? You said what? Mira, carajo, and like we tend to Oh my God, my husband really is gonna love this episode because it's true. And you know, I tend to like sometimes explode and say things that I don't mean. And then when you're having an argument with your spouse or with whoever, you have to stop yourself before you say things that are gonna be hurtful. You have to like, you know, take a breather, like walk away.
Yeah.
And control your emotions before, again, you
say something.
You do or you say something that you don't want to do or say.
That's going to hurt somebody else. Yeah. And also have the capability, and I say this is something you and I talked about one day, Darlene, have the capability to say, I'm sorry when you do those type of things. Yeah. Be that person that if you went above and beyond to insult or to react in a certain way that hurts somebody else, be able to later pull yourself away from that situation, marinate it and say, you know what, I messed up. Like, let me go now and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. The thing is, the sad thing is that a lot of people are not used to that. Yeah. To saying I'm sorry because either they've never had it in their life or
they're not used to it. They didn't see it.
Or in the past relationship, they were, you know, probably it was a relationship that ended. But it's very important to accept when you're wrong. Yeah. For yourself and then for the other person.
And everything. And it's like when you have kids and all that, also to show your kids that it's okay to say, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's okay to say, I'm sorry. It's okay to say, I messed up. I'm sorry. I did this. I bring it down to, I say this, I'm going to bring it on a work thing. Like I've seen people in work settings, you know, where they can never be wrong. Like, it's like, who am I going to throw the baton to blame them for something so that the owner or whoever doesn't look at me like, and I say to myself, how many years are you going to live your life like that? How many years? Why can't you, and I'm very, you know, keen on this. Why can't you, if you messed up something, I mean, if you're messing up every day at work, that's something different, but you messed up something. Why can't you come and say, you know what? I made a mistake. Can you teach me how to do this better? Can you teach me? I really wasn't, maybe I wasn't trained the way that I should have been trained. And I accept I made a mistake, but help me to do this. And that's part of being emotionally intelligent and self-aware.
Exactly. And that's the second one. It's also like, aside from self-awareness would be the first one. The second one is the self-regulation, like being able to control yourself. I cannot speak today. And then we have the one on empathy. Yeah. That would be the third pillar.
And I think that's the most important one.
It's understanding the other person's emotions. Well, we kind of been talking about it since we just started this episode. But yeah, it's kind of, okay, maybe they're going through something. Maybe they called from, you know, even if it's not true and somebody is treating you bad or whatever, even if you put in your head, maybe they just got a phone call that somebody they love is sick. Or maybe they're going fast because they call from school that the kid is throwing up. Even if that's not true, even if they're just being like straight up assholes, by you giving them the benefit of the doubt and pray for them. It's like, I hope they make it. I hope they make it to the bathroom on time. But it's if you do that, at the end of the day, we get those benefits because we're going to be relaxed. It's like, whatever, let it go.
My mom always used to tell me, and I take my hat off to my mom in this because that's one big thing. My mom always told me, and that's something that stuck with me. Obviously, I wasn't always this rational, I want to say. But my mom would always tell me whenever I would get very like pissed off about something or somebody, and I would say, well, this person's like this, and I know it. She would stop me always and tell me, you don't know what that person is going through. Like, that person has a story. You can only assume that you know what that person's going through. You can only think that you know, but you don't know the full story. And you don't know what that person's thinking. So many times, whether it's work, whether it's a relationship, whether it's family, you know, and any, you know, kind of like connection that you have with anybody, sometimes you have to take a step back and active listen. Because that's a thing that we are actually lacking in this world. I want to say with everything, politics, religion, whatever. Everybody just has stopped listening to anybody that doesn't coincide with them. Is really listen and hear why that person, I don't know, votes the way that they do. Why that person chose to live the lifestyle that they do. Why there's a story behind all this. And that's empathy. And that is looking. There's been many times, again, I always say I'm not going to get into politics. I'm not, because this is not a politics podcast. But during the whole shit that was happening in 2020, and then all the stuff that has been happening after that, many people obviously were fighting back and forth. Everybody, it was crazy. And I would look at these chats and I was like, if people would just take the time to stop for 1 second and say, hey, Darlene, so why do you feel this way? Like,
you've done that. You've asked me before.
But you and I, but we're friends. Yeah. And I have asked you, and I've been, you know, I take my boundaries. I'm never going to just set my opinions on you or whatever. And I'm not going to say who votes for who here or anything. This is not that type of podcast.
I'm thinking about your father right now.
No, this is not the type of podcast.
Don't talk to my dad. Don't talk to my dad.
I'm not. Politics is very sensitive, and so is religion, right? But if instead of judging the person and assuming that you know why somebody votes the way that they do, or why they pick the friends the way that they do, or why they do the things that they do, actually have a conversation and say, hey, darling, can I talk to you for a minute? Do you mind if I ask you something?
Yeah.
And if you allow that, because, you have to set your boundaries for what you're up for or not. And you say, yeah, sure. And I ask you, hey, darling, why do you vote the way that you do? Why do you think? And we have an interchangeable freaking conversation. You will see why everybody has their reason and everybody has some logic to what they're saying.
Yeah. And let me tell you, each political party, they have their cons.
Yeah.
So, but when you're stick to oh no, I'm this, I'm Republican or I'm a Democrat. And it's this is how I am. It's it doesn't mean that there's views from the other party that you actually believe in.
And that's where I go down to, and it's
and that's
everything.
Why, it's okay. Vote for your guy, all this, but don't close off on a conversation with somebody from the opposing party to actually teach you, or you can teach them something.
Absolutely.
And it's,
absolutely.
Anyway,
that's in the political theory, but it's in everything.
Yeah.
I say it's in everything. Yeah. It's at work. It's in your relationship. It's in politics. It's in religion. If everybody just took the time out to find out why people are the way that they are, you will realize that people come from little with their habits and their patterns and their experiences. And that is what's making them be X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And I know it's hard to do, but many times you'll go, oh shit, now I get it. I feel like an idiot. I feel like an idiot because I assumed that Darlene was like this because she's just a bitch. You know what I mean? No, she's a bitch because you know what? She lost her mom when she was 5. She had to take care of herself. There's so many stories, and that's empathy. And a lot of people are lacking
By the
empathy.
way, my mom is very alive.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I'm just an example. I love you, Mom.
It's an example. Yeah, I used your name, but it's an example.
But
it's having empathy for somebody else and not always thinking that we know why somebody is the way that they are.
Exactly. And then, so we're going on the 4th pillar, which is social skills. And it's just building and maintaining relationships and effective communication. And one thing with what you were just saying, the thing is that sometimes and this is hard in relationships, at home with your husband, with your wife, because it's okay, this person is the way they are because they went through this, and that. But as individuals in a relationship, we also have to find a way of working on those things.
Absolutely.
Because the fact that I was raised this way and this is how it was with my parents, you're an adult now and you have children now. And you have to, find a way to whatever it is that could be damaging your relationship or impeding good communication, then work on that without the excuse of, oh, but I went through this when I was a little kid and this is how my parents were all the time. And you know what? Always, that's part of who you are. But always, if it's affecting the relationship in some way, try to work through those things from the past so you can meet halfway.
Yeah, you can't, you see, because there's a thin line with people, right? You can't make excuses now every single time. You can't. You have to find the empathy, but then that empathy can't be an excuse all the time for somebody, right? So you have to obviously have boundaries as well. But I think emotional intelligence is really solely, and not solely, I think there's a big part of it that is based off of your empathy towards others,
And so this thing that I was reading about, and this is the article that I told you that it was interesting because I had heard it, you had mentioned it, and I'm every emotionally intelligent, it keeps popping up. And maybe it's something for me to learn. And I've learned, and hopefully, I can take this again. Fabian loves this episode. But reading this article, I realized not only do I am surrounded by a lot of people that lack emotional intelligence. So reading through this, it's kind of helping me how to deal in those situations. And then it also made me realize that I lack on them as well. And I'm oh shit, we all do. So I'm going to go briefly through some. One is gossip. People that are constantly gossiping about, oh, you know what happened and this and that. When you're constantly talking about somebody else, about what's going on in their relationship or their kids, or that's part of lacking emotional intelligence. Don't, again, what we were saying earlier, don't judge on what they're doing, what they're saying. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. And don't say, oh, that they're getting a divorce. It's come on.
Yeah.
It's not a happy thing.
And you don't know.
For some it is though.
And you don't know what's going on. But we all thrive on this. Let me ask you, tell you, even with social media, we all love to hear the movie stars that cheated on this one. And we want to hear, and we're only getting what the media puts out there. But I always say there's always a backstory to all these things that we're listening to. But everybody thrives and they love to see the drama. It's like we all love to look at things, and not just movie stars, just in general. People want to hear the bad shit that's happening. I don't know. It's like something, it's crazy.
You know what? One thing that I've learned from my husband is he's like, oh, what are you? Oh, I don't care. Like very.
Yeah,
he's taught me not to be involved in gossip. And for example, I used to record like Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood, and I started watching them, and I'm like, because they show all these couples, from Hollywood, and they broke up, and this one cheated, and now these are happy, and now there's rumors, and I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. You don't know the story.
I realized I'm like, I don't give a shit if Taylor Swift and while she's singing, her boyfriend is partying. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, and the thing is, you don't even know if all that shit is true. Like they're just, it's like,
I'm like
you're feeding off of it, you know.
Work on your own shit. Another one is the talking too much about me, and personal achievement. When you're talking to somebody, and all they do is, like, if you say something, it's like, oh, but I did that too.
Yeah.
Oh, no, because I'm thinking of going to Greece. Oh, I went to Greece. Or, I ran a marathon. Oh, you did? No, I did one too.
I did a 5-mile marathon.
So and it happens. Yeah. It happens. That's another one. Constant complaining. Like it's good to vent. And all that. And that's one thing that Fabian's like, why are you complaining? And I'm like, I'm not complaining. I'm venting. I'm venting.
I feel like I'm being Darlene's therapist here right now, marriage counselor. I'm like, is there something going on, Darlene? Like, what's going on? I'm trying to reach you.
No. But I'm like, I'm just venting. But anyway, somebody that's constantly complaining. And so they say like people that do have high emotional intelligence, they're like problem solvers. And they don't like throw everybody like
under the bus
problem on other people and stuff. Controversial topics like politics, and know your audience. Like know when is the right time to talk about certain
Don't
things.
impede, right? Don't impede into something that is somebody's gonna get you backlash. That's why I say when you have to, talk to somebody about stuff that's so sensitive, like politics and stuff like that, I think you have to be like, are you okay? Look, I have opposing views, but are you okay with me talking to you? Like, I don't want to convince you of anything. I just want to tell you why I feel this way.
Yeah, what we're just saying.
And that's being empathetic, and you're not bombarding your stuff all over everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that those people also that bring like topics that they shouldn't, and certain times it's also the people that have no filters.
Yeah.
For example, it's like, oh, did you gain weight? Like, and I'm like, come on. Stuff like that. And one thing for me that it's hurtful, and I get it every week, is people asking me, oh, when are you going to have a second child?
Yeah.
And I hate when people ask that question. Or when people just ask like, oh, you've been together for 3 years. When are you guys going to get married? When are you going to... I think that people should start asking these questions, unless it's like the relatives and they know there's nothing in the back that's impeding them. But you ask me, for example, oh, Darlene, Luna needs a sibling. It's like, come on.
Yeah,
I've been through... Yeah, it's been hard. It's been hard, and it's a very like sensitive topic for me.
And the people that are asking that, there we go, is where I'm not saying this. I'm sure there are people that you love and this and that, but unfortunately, emotionally intelligent, they're lacking in that sense, because when you really sit back and say to myself, how would I feel if I was trying? And obviously, I haven't been able to, and I know Darlene hasn't been able to right now. Maybe how would I feel if somebody was constantly asking me, and I'm having issues? It's not that I don't want to. I'm having issues. So it's that thing also of knowing your boundaries and knowing to what, it's like the person that I know is a gun-ho, I don't know, I don't know, they're Muslim. I don't know. I'm just putting something out there, and they have a certain religion, and I'm just going to impede my stuff on them. No, like I'm not going to say something to you that I know is going to affect you. Yeah. Or I don't know if I'm getting my message across right. But like with you, with the whole thing of the fertility, like how you're lacking emotional intelligence there, because you're just going off thinking about yourself. Like you're just opening up a can of worms that you don't know how the other person is feeling. You don't know the struggles that they're going through. and it's hard. And it's like, I feel like emotional intelligence needs to be taught to kids from when they're 5 years old. Like,
That's
they're
so
teaching
true.
all these freaking subjects that at the end you don't end up even using. And then these things that are skills that we need to deal on an everyday basis that will help in everything, it's not even being taught. And it's things that we end up learning throughout the way. Some people don't learn. I want to say some people, I've seen people in their 80s that I say, wow, they missed that's it. And they missed it. You know what I mean?
They're the way they are, and that's it.
And it is what it is. You know what I mean? They're never going to see anything, besides of what they think. But if they would teach these things to kids 5, 6, 7, 8, and throughout, and have this as a course, like I've always said this, like we need to learn how to be more emotionally intelligent. We need to learn how to interact with other people and realize that not everybody's the same.
Exactly.
And not everybody responds the same. And that's when the empathy comes in. And I think empathy, I don't know if empathy is taught. I think there's people that just don't give 3 shits about others.
Yeah, it's people that they don't care. They don't care about how the other person is feeling, that the other person is tired, that they need help. I don't know.
But I've noticed that those people, and I would say those people are like that. But then when the paper, como se dice, when the script switches,
the
right?
other way.
Oh, they are the first one to get offended and the first one to be. But then it's like you do this all the time, and then when it's flipped on you, you act a certain way. Why can't you stop being a victim of your circumstance and say, damn, I do this all the time. I need to stop doing it. I need to be a little bit more, respectful and a little bit more inclined with other people's needs, because a lot of people are more about themselves. Let's be honest. Everybody's always looking out for themselves.
That's true.
And
then if something goes wrong, it's your fault. You blame other people. You blame people at work that it's like, hey man, it wasn't my job to do that, but you're gonna blame them.
Yeah.
And things like that. So it's a lot. It's interesting. I feel that it's not talked about that much. Again, like I said, I keep hearing the word like thrown out there, emotional intelligence. Oh, I'm looking for, like I watched The Bachelor, right? Again, my guilty pleasure. I'm looking for somebody that has emotional intelligence, and like 10 of them mention it. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
Emotional intelligence.
Like, okay, so now it's like I understand it better, and I understand in what areas I have to work more. And yeah.
And like I said, it comes in times for everybody. I was talking to a friend of mine that she went through like a whole spiritual awakening kind of thing. She went through some hard things in her life. And then in her 30s is when she started opening up and kind of getting away from people that, were not, they were just narcissists. They were people, that were just not good for her. And she started expanding. She started becoming more like, everybody has a story. And it's, again, this is not something that we're born with. And everybody has the capability to become emotionally intelligent, I believe. I just think that there's going to be people that don't care. They don't care. They're about themselves, and it is what it is. And they're going to keep living their life. And it's like, I don't give 3 shits if Darlene feels sad. I'm going to ask her anyways, because I feel like asking, you know what I mean? Like they don't have boundaries in that sense. And emotional intelligence, listen, we can do another episode on this, like a part 2, because this can stem into so many things. There is so many things. So if you're listening to this and you feel like, wow, like I never really heard the term, because there's people that never have heard the term.
Or really don't, or they've heard it, but they're like, okay, being like smart emotionally, but it's more than that.
It's more in depth with that.
Yeah, it's about learning how to like control your emotions, how to respect other people's emotions.
Yeah.
Again, giving them the benefit of the doubt, and that's a way of having a healthy relationship with somebody else, or helping them. What do you need?
Yeah.
Instead of like, why are you feeling this way? Oh, come on, don't be stupid. Blah, 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 blah. You don't need to feel that way. It's like, no.
Disregarding people's feelings.
It's like, no, okay, come on. Even if you're thinking, okay, she's overreacting, but it's...
Here's a point with a friend. Like, this is something that I was thinking about. Like, when a friend comes and vents to you, and you in your mind are like, oh my God, like in your mind, I'm saying, you're like, my God, that's like so stupid. Like she's just making the biggest deal out of nothing. And you go and you tell this friend like, oh my God, get over it. That's so stupid. Here's another thing that I've learned with this emotional intelligence thing. You have to stop yourself, because you are not me and I'm not you.
It's stupid for you, but not for them.
Not for that person. So do not disregard their feelings, because their feelings matter. And you know what? Maybe some people are, in your mind, oh, they're so dramatic, or that person is so, but that's them. That is that person, it might not be you, but that person may respond differently, or they see things differently, different perspectives. You need to be able to respect that. And that's the thing. You need to be able to respect the fact that not everybody everybody's going to think the same way, you know? And if somebody's down about something that you might not be down about, give them their space and say, you have all the right in the world to feel a certain way, you know?
But then on the other hand, that friend that's always venting, I have a friend and I'm very scared of asking this friend, how are you doing? Because it's usually when I see this person, we're in social, settings where it's like we're celebrating something. And every time I ask this friend, how are you feeling? And it's kind of like a joke that we all have among the group, because it's like,
Debbie Downer.
Super. And then it gets to a point that I see this person sit in a corner talking to somebody and it's like, da, 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 da. And then I'm like trying like to reach out and hang out. But then I see her. Okay, it's her in another corner doing that. Da, 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 and I'm like, oh, and you see the people just listening and the person is just talking. And that's another thing. If you could be going through, choose your moment to vent on people that they're out there to have fun. They don't want to be listening to all your drama.
The negative stuff.
Because this is the thing. It's all drama today. And then the next day you're back with that person. So you're talking bad about this person for 30 minutes, driving everybody crazy. It's 30 minutes per person. So you spend the whole party just like venting and frustrated and blah, blah, blah. And then the next day you're with the person again.
And everything is fine. And everything
is fine. And you're like, come on.
Yeah.
So also, if you're the one that has to vent, choose the moments. Or tell your friend like, hey, I'm... Can we talk? Like, can we go for coffee?
Or let's bring it back to number one, or be self-aware of the fact of your traits, that you always do this. And then the next day you're always with this person. Maybe I need to stop. Maybe I need to be self-aware and I need to stop telling people this because I look like an idiot every time I say something, you know? And then everybody's like, well, hold on a minute. Weren't you just yesterday saying this? So you need to be careful with how you say things and what you're saying about certain people.
Yeah. And then you were like, oh, you're back with your boyfriend? No, we hate him. What do you mean you hate him? We freaking hate him. You've been talking about him so bad. So now we hate him.
Yeah. You're like, but what do you mean? I never said I hated him. What do you mean all this time?
It's called therapy. Yeah. The therapists are there for that, for you to come and vent your problems. Don't do that in a social setting. Yes. Choose your places. So with that said, are we good?
I think we're good. I think we're going to have a part 2 on this emotional intelligence. For real. Listen, it's coming, Darlene. We're going to pinpoint, and maybe we bring somebody that is like deep into like the psychology of emotional therapy and all that. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
I'm so scared of being tested.
Yeah. I love
it. We have some pointers here on things that we really need to work in. Like I'm thinking over here. I see you over there with your thinking cap.
Yeah.
And we all have work to do. Yeah. We all have work to do.
We do. And don't feel bad if you're further behind than another friend that may be above, you know what I mean? Like a little bit further, because I think the emotional intelligence is for life. Like I think you keep growing, and with every situation that happens in somebody's life, or all, and it's usually the bad situations, right? Is what makes us grow and makes us see things sometimes in a different way that we weren't able to see prior to that. So it's just a matter of, it's growing. It's called growing. And again, if you're an empathetic person and you do care about, people and making things flow, then, it's something, it's a skill. I say that, you.
And like everything, it takes practice.
It takes practice, yeah.
It does. Well, with that said, we will see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.